Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Israel invades Lebanon. Hezbollah denies Israel able to gain any ground. Meanwhile, in Gaza, Israeli airstrikes kill 12, including 7 children. Iran now reportedly prepping a ballistic missile attack on Israel. Turning to non-World War III news, tonight, the first and last VP debate as CBS unveils a QR code fact-check scheme.
My goodness.
We will be covering that debate live. Maybe we'll have our own QR fact-check. Hurricane Helene recovery efforts continue as death toll surpasses 130. Many more are missing. 45,000 International Longshoremen Association dock workers go on strike from Texas to Maine. Polls tighten in Pennsylvania and North Carolina. A Georgia state judge strikes down Georgian abortion ban. California expands IVF access. Meanwhile, Joe Biden expands asylum restrictions, extending the period of time in which asylum numbers need to be reduced before those numbers pop back up again. Eric Adams' top advisor leaves amid the sinking USS Adams in New York City. And remember that race where India Walton, socialist, won the Democratic primary in Buffalo? And then the incumbent mayor decided to do a write-in campaign against the Democratic Party nominee with the help of the Democratic Party. Well, that guy just resigned his mayorship after winning, took half his staff with him to become a gambling executive.
Job well done.
Claudia Sheinbaum becomes the first female Mexican president. And happy birthday to Jimmy Carter, the first U.S. president ever to make it to 100 years old. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. It is
Newsday Tuesday.
It's also Debate Day Tuesday.
Yes, it is.
But that doesn't rhyme, so we don't really talk about it as much.
Special edition. Tonight we'll be covering it.
That's
going to
right.
be fun. Although J.D. Vance at least isn't going to be baited as easily as Donald Trump. So that's just something to look out for.
No, I think this is going to be actually like a complicated debate because of the, honestly, because of the QR code fact checking by CBS. We will get to that debate. I guess, preview later in the program. Right now, we don't know. There are reports that Iran is planning a ballistic missile strike against Israel in the wake of Israel's bombing of Lebanon and ostensibly mounting, if not attempted incursion into southern Lebanon. It's unclear exactly what's going on down there. Israel has issued I've heard it articulated a couple of different ways, a couple of which I find interesting, of an evacuation order to villages in southern Lebanon. Nearly 1 million people already displaced in Lebanon. But evacuation orders are what you issue when you are the town council and there's a hurricane coming. It's a threat when you're talking about invading another country. Israel has no authority to evacuate any part of someone else's country. What they're doing is they're issuing a threat, a warning. Move or you will die, like tens of thousands of others that we have killed over the past year.
And just think about how it would be treated if, say, Russia was issuing evacuation orders, or they have, right? They had earlier on in their invasion of Ukraine. We knew that was a threat implicitly against the Ukrainian people. But for people in Lebanon, apparently their territorial integrity and sovereignty, it doesn't matter.
That's what's going on there. Iran apparently has threatened. It's unclear, it's unclear if Iran has threatened or if they have maybe just contacted the White House and said, we're just giving you a heads up. We're going to send a ballistic missile attack against Israel. According to the Times of Israel, or I should say, according to the New York Times, the attack will target air bases, intelligence headquarters with drones and with missiles.
That does sound similar to their retaliation prior to this, which had been telegraphed to the United States as well. Iran has no interest in a broader regional war right now. They have issues domestically with what they've with the protest suppression. They just elected a reformer in that country. They don't want to overextend themselves with a war with Israel. That also dovetails with the reports that Hezbollah and Iran were pissed at Hamas for not telegraphing their plans on October 7th. This draws Iran into a situation they don't want to be in. So it's good news that they're speaking to the United States, at least.
Yep. Israel, on the other hand, does really seem to want to have a war with Iran, and we will see how this goes. Supposedly, the U.S. was not made aware of, or at least Lloyd Austin apparently was not made aware of Israel's intent to bomb Beirut suburbs to kill Nasrallah. You can find two different, almost diametrically opposed assessments as to the implications of killing Nasrallah. One is that this is going to make Hezbollah forces completely without any type of leadership, and the other being that they're fairly decentralized. And the last time Israel did this, it didn't work out well for them. In 1992, when they killed the Hezbollah leadership. You can hear multiple takes on whether Israel's going to have any success in invading Lebanon. In 2002, they were driven out, essentially, by Hezbollah's guerrilla fighting over a period of time. And then the other story is that, well, Israel's learned a lot in the past 22 years. But it also appears that they started an invasion, then realized, we don't have enough guys.
Well, they thought the situation with Gaza, they're calling up reservists, right? They thought the situation in Gaza before October 7th was under control, that they basically kept them in the open-air prison, that nothing was going to happen. Netanyahu had secured the country, and they wanted to turn their attention to Lebanon in the first place. So this is Netanyahu and his extremist government trying to cement their legacy of expanding Israel's boundaries through force during this time where they have the opportunity.
All right, let's turn, though, to this exchange that was on CBS this morning. Is that what that show is? CBS Mornings.
A morning show.
This is a morning show, and we're going to cut in after...
Nate Burleson has like a fluffy question for Ta-Nehisi Coates that you would expect. It was just like a general talk about your book. This is...
What's the power of writing was the question.
Yes,
really.
right.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah. Why is it important to write books? It was sort of the question. It's, it's CBS
that's morning
Mornings.
TV. This is being played in doctors' offices. I actually hope that some people heard this and got educated, honestly.
Yeah, this is an interesting exchange. So Ta-Nehisi Coates is speaking, and what is her name too?
That's Gayle
There's
King.
no names. Oh, Gayle King is on the set, and the third person interviewing him is Tony Dokapil, who these are all regulars on this show. For a brief time, Dokapil lived in my building. And he was going through a divorce. It became clear. And I say that only because, I know that he has family in Israel. I mean, this is where now, I don't know if this is really relevant. I mean, people speak about what's going on in America with and without having family in America. But I only mention it because the way that Dokapil starts off this exchange, it is impossible to imagine anybody ever saying this to a different award-winning writer. I mean, Ta-Nehisi Coates is a mainstream, one of the most awarded authors that we have in mainstream, regardless of, I've had, nuanced issue with his take in the past about things, but just like, this is not consistent with the rules of engagement that we see on a morning show with such a prestigious author. And I would suggest that on any other topic and any other author, Dokapil, if he asked a question in this way, would be yanked. Like, you would not get away with it. It is a total attack on, and you can tell that Ta-Nehisi Coates was not expecting
taken aback
this level of sort of like personal insult. All right, let's start.
Actually, I want to dive into the Israel-Palestine section of the book. It's the largest section of the book. And I have to say, when I read the book, I imagine if I took your name out of it, took away the awards and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away, the content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist. And so then I found myself wondering, why does Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I've known for a long time, read his work for a long
I mean, are you kidding me? In the backpack of an extremist? Like, let's just sort of break down what he's saying here.
Yep.
He's not, like just even the use of backpack. What is he saying? That a backpack, like an extremist would write this and put it in his backpack? Or an extremist who carries around a backpack? Like, what are we talking about here? He's talking about a terrorist. He's talking about a terrorist who would blow up things. That's what's in a backpack. What was in the backpack in Boston at that bombing? What was in the, backpack? That's what an extremist with a backpack, that's what he's signaling.
And this interview is a phenomenal example of Zionism and racism working hand in hand. I mean, he's essentially alluding to the fact that his writing is a terrorist sympathizing book, saying this to his face on morning television.
He's not even saying that it's sympathize. It sounds like it was written
by a terrorist.
By a terrorist. And the idea that you would open up your question this way to anyone else under any other circumstances is, I've never seen anything like that. All right, let's just go back a little bit.
would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist. And so then I found myself wondering, why does Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I've known for a long time, read his work for a long time, very talented, smart guy, leave out so much? Why leave out that Israel is surrounded by countries that want to eliminate it? Why leave out that Israel deals with terror groups that want to eliminate it? Why not detail anything of the first and the second intifada, the cafe bombings, the bus bombings, the little kids blown to bits? And is it because you just don't believe that Israel, in any condition, has a right to exist?
Well, I would say the perspective that you just outlined, there is no shortage of that perspective in American media. That's the first thing I would say. I am most concerned always with those who don't have a voice, with those who don't have the ability to talk. I have asked repeatedly in my interviews whether there is a single network, mainstream organization in America with a Palestinian American bureau chief or correspondent who actually has a voice to articulate their part of the world. I've been a reporter for 20 years. The reporters of those who believe more sympathetically about Israel and its right to exist don't have a problem getting their voice out. But what I saw in Palestine, what I saw on the West Bank, what I saw in Haifa in Israel, what I saw in the South Hebron Hills, those were the stories that I have not heard. And those were the stories that I was most occupied with. I wrote a 260-page book.
Okay, so now, like, you know, I really think, like, Coates is so thrown off by the nature of this question that he's not sure how hard he should go at this point. And so he's basically just saying, like, you know, you're saying that I wasn't representative enough of your perspective in my book. Well, your entire profession is completely devoid of an alternate perspective to the one that you're espousing. Again, he's ignoring the fact that he just said what you're writing is extremist backpack extremism. And I mean, very not so subtle. Like, you're writing like you're a terrorist. And you'll see, though, at one point, Coates starts to realize, like, what's going on. Like, he catches his breath and he starts to get a lot more aggressive. Like, in this moment, he is, I think, still absorbing the fact that, like, are you kidding me?
Also, the threat to this reporter, that apparently he read the book and he decides to be antagonistic about it. He's expressing a desire that Coates write some exhaustive history about the Middle East that's also pro-Israel. But he's just basically speaking about the racism, the quotidian racism that he saw on a day-to-day basis when he visited there. And that very idea, that very observation is threatening to this person.
It's terroristic to understand, like, what's going on in the West Bank.
Yep.
Heard. And those were the stories that I was most occupied with. I wrote a 260-page book. It is not a treatise on the entirety of the conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
But if you were to read this book, you would be left wondering, why does any of Israel exist? What a horrific place, committing horrific acts on a daily basis. So I think the question is central and key. If Israel has a right to exist, and if your answer is no, then I guess the question becomes, why do the Palestinians have a right to exist? Why do 20 different Muslim countries have a right to exist?
And why do 20 different Muslim... Okay, so why does Israel have a right to exist? Just notice the sleight of hand here. But why do Palestinians have a right to exist? Those are the two sides that he says. Israel's a state. If you were saying, do Jewish people have a right to exist? Do Israelis have a right to exist? And do Palestinians have a right to exist? Okay, then there's an equivalence there. He's talking about a state that was formed and by the United Nations with the support of the West versus an ethnic group of people, and then just casually talks about other Muslim countries. But just pay attention to these little subtleties.
Israel has a right to exist, and if your answer is no, then I guess the question becomes, why do the Palestinians have a right to exist? Why do 20 different Muslim countries have a right to exist?
My answer is that no country in this world establishes its ability to exist through rights. Countries establish their ability to exist through force, as America did. And so I think this question of right to Israel does exist. It's a fact. The question of its right is not a question that I would be faced with any other country.
But you write a book that delegitimizes the pillars of Israel. It seems like an effort to topple the whole building of it. So I come back to the question, and it's what I struggled with throughout this book. What is it that so particularly offends you about the existence of a Jewish state that is a Jewish safe place and not any of the other states out there?
Pause it.
There's nothing that.
All right. As a Jew, I can tell you that what I hear in that question is, why are you an anti-Semite? I mean, that's the sort of like implication of that question. What is it about Jewish state? And I mean, he does a great job of answering it. But just to be clear, and I think this is where like Coates finally realizes, like, oh my God, this guy. All right, go ahead.
Is it that so particularly offends you about the existence of a Jewish state that is a Jewish safe place and not any of the other states out there?
There's nothing that offends me about a Jewish state. I am offended by the idea of states built on ethnocracy, no matter where they are.
Muslim included.
I would not want a state where any group of people laid down their citizenship rights based on ethnicity. The country of Israel is a state in which half the population exists on one tier of citizenship, and everybody else that's ruled by Israelis exists on another tier, including Palestinian Israeli citizens. The only people that exist on that first tier are Israeli Jews. Why do we support that? Why is that okay? I'm the child of Jim Crow. I'm the child of people that were born into a country where that was exactly the case of American apartheid. I walk over there and I walk through the occupied territories and I walk down a street in Hebron. And a guy says to me, I can't walk down the street unless I profess my religion. I'm with another pastor. No. I want to. This is very, very important.
It is important. It is
extremely important.
Yeah, let it lay it down.
I'm working with the person that is guiding me is a Palestinian whose father, whose grandfather and grandmother was born in this town. And I have more freedom to walk than he does. He can't ride on certain roads. He can't get water in the same way that Israeli citizens who live less than a mile away from him can.
And why is that okay?
Why
is that? Why is there no agency in this book for the Palestinians? They exist in your narrative merely as victims of the Israelis, as though they were not offered peace at any juncture, as though they don't have a stake in this as well. What is their role in the lack of a Palestinian?
I have a very, 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 very moral compass about this. And again, perhaps it's because of my ancestry. Either apartheid is right or it's wrong. It's really, really simple. Either what I saw was right or it's wrong. I am, for instance, against the death penalty. What the person did to get the death penalty, it really doesn't matter to me. I don't care if they were selling a nickel bag of marijuana or if they were a serial killer. I am against the death penalty. I am against a state that discriminates against people on the basis of ethnicity. I'm against that. There is nothing the Palestinians could do that would make that okay for me. My book is not based on the hyper-morality
What's the last
of the Palestinian people.
In lessons, because many people feel it's complicated. You say it's not complicated. Less than 20 seconds. What's your message?
Less than 20 seconds. I want people to read the book.
Well,
And I don't make the assumption that somebody would just read the book and have read nothing else about Israel and Palestine.
You're still invited to High Holidays. I'll see you at the show. I mean it, buddy.
Oh, wow.
Oh, he means it, buddy.
I mean it.
Hey, Sam, why don't you lay it down?
Lay it down.
Lay it down, buddy.
I have said in many other contexts there are no there's no zealots like the zealotry of a convert, and I only mention that because Dokapol has written about his circumcision as an adult.
Recircumcision.
He had his medical circumcision when he was born, but he had another one.
It's very graphic. You can look it up if you like.
I can't handle that at all.
Gonna.
But I mean, that is honestly.
I unfortunately read it. Yeah.
One of the most the implication that to write something like this, to write something that and now it's possible. I haven't read the book, so it's possible that Ta-Nehisi Coates has written something that is violent or extremist towards Israel, but I seriously doubt it. What I think he's probably written is there's a tremendous amount of injustice that's going on here. And it's possible that Ta-Nehisi Coates said, the idea that Jews would do this, where do they get off? I also find very hard to believe. It's more likely he's saying, I don't believe that there should be two cohorts of people who ostensibly are in the, under the rule of one authority, and one cohort gets all sorts of rights, and the other is a second or third class, or maybe has absolutely no rights of citizenship whatsoever. That's probably more likely what's going on. And I mean, honestly, like, I don't know that you could take that approach on that show with any other author on any other topic and not be on double, triple secret probation. You lose your job.
Ta-Nehisi Coates mentions Jim Crow and talks about how he was a child of Jim Crow to connect it to the system of apartheid in Israel. And what does that guy do, the host? He basically says, well, why don't they have any agency? Like, just graph that onto the example that Coates alluded to before with Jim Crow. Why don't black people have agency in the South?
Yeah.
Why don't they have agency to overthrow this system?
They're violent.
They've been offered rights. They've been offered peace. So, like, he just dismisses that. And then don't get past that microaggression at the end, honestly. Don't get past that. When he says you're still invited to high holidays, that's essentially saying, okay. I wrote this down because it was a great point. Joshua Gutterman Trannon said on Twitter last night, it's not the ultimate point, but the quote, "You're still invited to high holidays" is absolutely a racialized threat about conditional acceptance, which I thought was a really smart way to put it. And that's why I said earlier, this is a great example of Zionism and racism working hand in hand.
The condescension too, like, you're a smart guy. I've been impressed by you before. What's the deal here? Like, I'd never heard of this guy in my life before. But
what is it about your particular issue with Jewish control?
Yeah.
That is very strange. I mean, yeah, the agency issue, like, this whole Nat Turner thing. I mean, can we really allow them to stay in the same hotels as us? I mean, how come there's no agency?
That's the thing, and you mentioned this, but every time he said the implied or alluded to what was written in the book, I wanted to know what was actually written, because are those observations, are they accurate, regardless of what you think they mean for implications of the right for Israel to exist or the pillars of Israel? Are they true? Is there an apartheid there, or is there not?
It's completely like, this is not an appropriate thing to say, because this is what extremists say. How about you don't throw away all those things and start to reevaluate your take on this? See, you have a choice, right? If someone who you highly respect, someone who is very awarded, someone who is an incredibly thoughtful writer, who has the imprimatur of all of the gatekeepers of thoughtful writing, says something you don't like, you have a choice. You can either decide to ignore all that and just assume that it's extremist because that's your projection on it, or you can start to look inward and say, hey, wait a second, maybe my perspective on this. And I mean, he sort of told on himself when he said, like, I couldn't help but, first of all, one chapter, couldn't help but think about this throughout the whole book. Interesting.
He's auditioning too, to get his name out there.
Can't wait to read the book, though.
Tuckabull's well known. He's been on that show for a long time. He had a best-selling book about his father. I think his father was like a pot dealer or something like that. I mean, he's...
No, I know. I just mean, like, in the way that Bash and Tapper, like, they make sure to plant their flag about both sides being anti-Semitic when they go after Rashida Tlaib. Like, there's an incentive structure that rewards this kind of thing.
I think it's actually just an ideology. I mean, I don't think
it can be both.
I don't think this guy's going to gain anything from it. I think it's ideological. I mean, having had conversations like this with older, less informed members of my family, I think it's ideological. Fair. I really do.
Fair enough.
And I think it's his attempt at disciplining Coates. I don't think he sees any upside for himself. Like I say, any other context, this guy is in somebody's office and they're going like, "What are you having? Is something wrong at home?"
That's the thing. I always think along those lines, like, oh, the heads will like this. But you see Jake Tapper getting Matt Duss's DMs about, like, oh, be a man and tag me. It's like, right. Oh, this is operating on a pretty low emotional level.
100%.
Maybe you guys are right.
100%.
That's it. That's it. You're right.
All right. A couple of words from our sponsors today. Sunset Lake is having a major sale. Sunset Lake Seder.com. Usually it's the coupon code left is best for 20% off. But right now they're having all Seder edibles are 35% off if you use the coupon code October24 at checkout. Summer is officially over, as you know. We're in for cooler weather, more family gatherings, and that means, and also another stressful election season. I would also say stressful with more family gatherings. Our friends at Sunset Lake can help you navigate some of that stress right now. If you head over to their website and use the coupon code October24, no spaces, all one word, well, one word and two numerals, you can save 35% on infused edible products. They've got Seder coffee. They've got Seder soft gels. They've got Seder fudge. And even some hemp-derived THC gummies if you want to have something that's a little bit more, a little stronger.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I love the coffee. The coffee's actually really good. It's my weekend brew because it's sort of, you know, you're getting both things at the same time, the caffeine. The soft gels I've been using, I'm a big tincture guy. I don't eat the fudge. And I think everybody in this office knows why. Because if I had one piece,
for you.
I'd end up having like 20 pieces. I'd eat the whole thing, and I can't do that. And I'd be
But we enjoy
in
the
a
fudge.
vegetative state. But I take these every morning. I think these are on sale. I think they're Focus gummies. They're fantastic. So check it out. Also, those THC things. That's like there's times when I have movie night with Saul. Don't say anything to him, but I don't want to watch the movie. And those
Makes it a little more interesting.
Yeah, a little bit. Visit sunsetlakesebede.com. Use the code October24 to save 35% on all edibles. This sale ends October 8th, so you got 7 days. See their website for sale terms and conditions. Also, I just used this. I was vigilant in my use with this over the weekend. I went down to New Orleans for a conference. Going online without ExpressVPN is like driving without car insurance. You might be a great driver, but with all the crazy people on the road these days, why would you take that risk? I happen to think there's always been crazy people on the road, but I guess that's just the way we say it. I want to thank ExpressVPN for supporting the Majority Report. Here's the deal. Visit expressvpn.com/majority. Get an extra 3 months free. Every time you connect to an unencrypted network, cafes, hotels, airports, this is the first thing, and it just immediately connects you. Your online data is not secure. Any hacker on the same network can gain access to and steal your personal data, passwords, bank logins, credit card details, etc. It doesn't take much technical knowledge to hack someone. Just some cheap hardware is needed. A smart 12-year-old could do it. Your data is valuable. Hackers can make up to $1,000 per person selling personal info on the dark web. ExpressVPN stops hackers from stealing your data by creating a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. Because the internet is a series of tubes. That was the...
God, what was that?
I can't remember his name from Alaska. He was on the Senate floor.
Oh.
But the bottom line is ExpressVPN super secure. It would take a hacker with a supercomputer over 1 billion years to get past ExpressVPN's encryption, and for the most part, people don't live that long. So it would be very difficult. You'd probably pass away by the time that they were done. It is super easy to use. This is the most important thing for me because otherwise I wouldn't use it. All you got to do, you pop up the app, which everybody can do on their phone, and click one button. You're protected. It works on all your devices. It works on your phones, your laptops, your tablets, your smart TVs, whatever. It's rated #1 by top tech reviewers like CNET and The Verge. And I used it like I'm in the airport and I'm like, oh, bing, bango. and super easy. That's the thing. It's if it wasn't that easy, I don't think I would use it, to be honest with you. Super easy, very uncomplicated to do. You feel safe, you feel secure. You're in an airport. I don't know how people can intercept that, but that's why they have passwords, and that's why I have all that stuff. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/majority. That's expressvpn.com/majority. You can get an extra 3 months for free. expressvpn.com/majority. We will put the links in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. It was Ted Stevens. Ted Stevens said it.
So it appears that that Iran has launched many missiles, sirens all over central and southern Israel, and in the border settlements too.
Yeah, pretty much everywhere.
Well, I mean, look. The real question remains. What ends up being the Israeli response to this, and is this? Are we watching a show, or is this, and even if we are, at what point do we cross some type of threshold? The real problem is that this is working for Netanyahu in Israel. His bombing of Lebanon and his behavior over the past month or so, for whatever reason, I guess they've given up on the hostages in Israel, has raised his approval rating. He just brought in someone into his government that I guess was a former rival. And there is no way to stop Israel unless you are the president of the United States or whoever is making these decisions, McGurk, national security chief, or this other guy. I mean, there is a real sense that there's, 2 or 3 lunatics driving this bus, and it's just the brakes have gone out, and it's just rolling off a cliff, frankly.
I mean, Israel has no plan for peace, let's be clear. They feel that they can mow the lawn every few years. This has been their operating philosophy, and then continue to take territory via settlements, etc. But
this is like switching from lawn to like wood chips.
Yeah, and I just think, let's not pretend that this escalatory measure is anything except what you say to cement Netanyahu's hold on power. This is not a plan for peace. It's just trying to destabilize some of these groups and cause violence so that to bide him more time.
We will obviously keep you updated on this. If anything else comes across as we're talking about this. I mean, it just seems completely out of control by a guy whose entire presidency, it seems like he was most impressed with his foreign relations. He's the guy, Jack, who kept NATO together, and he was going to do a U.S. peace initiative.
Remember, he gave that speech at NATO, and everyone was like, "This is the greatest speech of his life. He's just that good at foreign policy."
I think that was a little bit of flatter the old man, but it's also like,
Fine,
did the Afghanistan pull out? Was that just because he was out to lunch and didn't realize, like, oh crap, I need to reverse this decision, and then it just kind of went on? Like, it just seems like he's out to lunch, and we don't have a president.
I think the same hubris that he had in thinking that he could stay in the election and win despite the numbers and despite the fact that he didn't have his full faculties is the same hubris that thought like, oh, this is an opportunity, October 7th, for me to cement a peace deal. And the idea that you can do that in 11 months and the idea that you could do it during an election campaign is just nuts.
It's astounding.
It's just the hubris associated with that is crazy. And the failure of the administration to realize, like, you probably won't get away with creating a peace deal that doesn't address the 50-year occupation of, the post-67 or the pre-67 borders. We can make arguments about like what is morally just and this and that, but just on a sheer practical level, the idea that you are going to be able to make a peace deal without Palestinian participation is just absolutely blinkered.
It led the way for October 7th. The fact that they continue to pursue the Abraham Accords, which started under Trump.
Yes.
Going around the Palestinians to normalize with Saudi Arabia. So, it's just, there's that Politico piece that we were reading today where McGurk and these other advisors are talking about how this is an opportunity to remake the Middle East in the United States' image. It's Biden's personal hubris, but it's also the hubris of empire. And
they're just insane. And the idea that they're going to get this done over the course of 2 or 3 months in this context is just, I'm sorry.
Wes Exec is running the show, it seems. But in terms of Biden, he overestimates his skills as a statesman and a politician, but mostly he overestimates his political situation right now. What leverage does he think he has over the Israelis? Because it's not the force of his political acumen, both domestically and in terms of these negotiations. He is an unpopular lame duck leaving office in a few months. What leverage does he have personally with Netanyahu? He talks about their friendship. Who cares? You're not respected. You're leaving power in a second. There's no incentive for the Israelis to listen to you if you're not going to actually use the stick. But maybe this is what he wants in some regard.
It really does sound a lot like the neocons. It's year zero essentially.
I mean, look at whose endorsements they're touting for Kamala. It's all these neocons.
Yeah,
and also I will say the Netanyahu was instrumental in getting the United States into Iraq, and Biden supported the Iraq War. At the time.
I feel like Bush really didn't need too much.
No, I know, but
I loved it and said it would be good for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, just more decapitation strikes. It's going to go well.
Let's turn to what's going on in the U.S. Southeast, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina to some extent, still Georgia, and Florida, of course, recovering from the Helene. There are still hundreds of people missing through those states. Death toll is already over 130, anticipated to be more. And, frankly, this is like the new normal is we have a once in 100-year storm once or twice a year. And we are just simply not set up for this. We are not set up for these type of changes. But here is a perfect example. I mean, how many times have we heard a story like this? There were workers at a Tennessee-based company called Impact Plastics. People died there because they were basically, with Helene bearing down, a private enterprise is going to err on the side that is going to make them the most money or, not prevent them from making money. This is the story of those buses in Katrina. The outsourcing, the subcontracting to private enterprise to be responsible for those buses at Katrina meant that when the guy was like, the guy with the final contract, if I send those buses and they don't need them, and I send them, 2 hours down the road and they're waiting out there, those buses are gone. The drivers are going to be costing me. I'm going to lose money on this. Private enterprises, job number one is always make money, not protect your workers, not create a situation for the community. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And here is this worker from Impact Plastics in Tennessee, interviewed by News WCYB.
Have you seen the statement the plastic company sent out? When you saw that, what's your first thought?
It was anger, hurt, it was lies, it was just frustration.
What really happened that day?
We were all working and the power went out, and I got a text right when the power went out from another employee saying that the parking lot was flooded. I started walking up towards the break room. That's where you walk out at, to the parking lot. And I seen the parking lot flooded, and I was like, what do I do? And I told me move my car. They said, move my car. So I moved my car to higher ground, which it was still in water. There wasn't no at all dry ground in that parking lot. I got out. I said, can we leave? And the woman said, no, not until I speak with Jerry. About 10 minutes later, she came back and said, y'all can leave. It was too late. We had one way in, one way out. And when they told us we could leave, the one way out was blocked off. So we were stuck in traffic on that road, waiting to see what we were gonna do, because everybody knew it was just one way. And then we turned around, we all finally got turned around, and some people going up this big old train road, four-wheel drive were getting up there barely, and people were getting stuck trying to get up there. So they sent us down, so some of the other employees from another company sent us down. They said they cut open the fence on 26, so we went down there. And as we were trying to go down there, I lost my car and started floating down the river. Well, we didn't know what to do. We were in panic mode. So the water was coming up, and then we did what we had to survive. It was a guy in a 4x4 came, picked a bunch of us up and saved our lives, or we'd have been dead too.
What does that feel like now to be, one of the, few that made it out? I don't know how many.
It hurts. It hurts knowing that they didn't make it and I did. I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't seem fair to me that they didn't make it.
What would you say to the company?
Why'd you make us work that day? Why? We shouldn't have worked. We shouldn't have been there. None of us should have been there. And that's what I should have said to them. Why did you make us work when you knew you said in the statement you were monitoring it? Why did you make us stay and work?
Is there anything else you want?
I mean, when they told us we could leave, it was just too late. I mean, there was no way out. Some people made it out with four-wheel drives, but if you didn't have four-wheel drive, or if you were stuck in that line I was stuck in, it was too late. Because, like I said, my car got washed down the river.
All right. This is like reminiscent of COVID and, like I say, Katrina. The idea that these workers feel so compelled and are so insecure in their status as working at this place that they can't even exercise that judgment of being able to say, like, I don't think I should go into work today. Like that, there is no margin for error for them. If they don't go into work and there's no 100-year catastrophic flood, they get fired. So if they're going to stay out from work, you better hope. That's the situation that they're placed in.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're a unionized workforce, but
I would bet you
bet
everything they're not.
Yeah,
not in Tennessee.
I mean, I'm reminded of the Kentucky candle factory where 8 workers died 2 years ago because they weren't allowed to go home during a tornado, and that same tornado also killed 6 Amazon warehouse workers in Illinois. And then when you mention COVID, I'm reminded of, was it Dan Patrick, the lieutenant governor, who said that in Texas, where essentially he said that some people would have to basically be sacrificed for the economy to keep going.
We said old people would be sacrificed, but then we proceeded to sacrifice both old people and workers.
But that's essentially how they view their workers, at least in terms of how they treat them.
That's what the prevailing narrative is by all these Restore the Republic grifters, like Bobby Kennedy, Russell Brand type of people. The problem with COVID was the shutdown, and they didn't let businesses continue operating. Yep. Not that a bunch of people were maimed and killed by a virus.
Meanwhile, of course, this is pivoting a little bit to the debate tonight. CBS has announced that they're not going to have their moderators actually do any fact checking. Now, just contemplate this for a moment. JD Vance went on national television and said, like, look, if we got to tell stories that aren't true to get the media to pay attention, we'll do it. And we've seen him over and over again, refer to legal Haitian immigrants as being illegal. We've heard him refer to them, unknown constituents telling him real firsthand reports of them eating cats and dogs. He's a liar. Donald Trump is a liar. It is a problem where you are essentially having a debate where you're not going to correct the most basic of lies, which, frankly, the audience tuning in for this debate, who are the most relevant, probably because they don't follow the news that much, wouldn't be able to tell, and it's gonna have real impact on the debate. But here's just a perfect example of the way that they operate. It's fascinating. If it wasn't, or I should say, it would be fascinating if it wasn't so terrifying. There is nothing that they won't just lie about, and the reason is because they can do it and not have any implications. Here's Trump. He's in Valdosta, Georgia. This is yesterday, Monday, press conference, prepared words.
We do need some help from the federal government. They have to get together, ideally with the governor. The governor needs to, he's been trying to get them, and I'm sure they're going to come through. But he's been calling the president, hasn't been able to get him. But they'll come through, I'm sure. And Georgia, North.
Okay, so there he is. He's being a real adult about it. Meanwhile, on that same day, the actual governor apparently has a different story.
On that, and just wanted to make sure this community knew that. I spoke to President Biden last night about 5 o'clock, just about the storm, about the devastation we've seen.
Pause it for 1 second. So that, just for those of you who are following along at home, that would mean that at least 12 to 15 hours before Donald Trump said the governor hasn't been able to reach the president, the governor, according to him, spoke to the president. So Trump is just lying, like just full on, the whole cloth, make it up.
Well, you say he's lying, but I'm not exactly sure. So let me take out my phone to take a photo of the screen so that I can get the QR code that's going to tell me.
Exactly. Real time, except for we don't have the ability to pause. So you check your QR code and go, they've got a team of 20 people who are going to be pumping out whether or not the president lied. Now, of course, you've missed half the debate at this point.
Right. You can't even use QR codes for your menu. I get annoyed by that. I'm going to need that for my journalism.
Is ABC selling ads? Like what's their job? Or CBS?
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind there is somebody in on the online marketing going, this is going to be amazing. We're going to be able to capture a bunch of emails from this.
Man, I love for-profit.
I mean, honestly, like this is like a stunt that we would do. We're going to put our QR code.
Yes.
We put our QR code all over the place and fact check in real time. All right, but just go back here. Let's listen to Brian Kemp. I don't know if Brian Kemp did this afterwards. Do we know what the timing was? Because he maybe made sure that he said this so that people would know that Trump was lying, or maybe not. maybe he said it before Trump said it, which would make it a double lie by Trump.
We'll be putting some information out on that, and just wanted to make sure this community knew that. I spoke to President Biden last night about 5 o'clock, just about the storm, about the devastation we've seen in our state. Vice President Harris and I have been playing phone tag. I know that former President Trump will be in Valdosta today getting a briefing from our folks, but also hearing from the locals in regards
Pause
to
it for 1 second.
response.
So in other words, Trump said his lie literally after this press conference.
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have an operation that says, like, here's the readout from what Kemp said at the press conference, because these are facts you might need to know. I don't need that. I could just completely freelance it. But there was no indication that Kemp hadn't spoken to Biden. Go ahead.
That former President Trump will be in Valdosta today getting a briefing from our folks, but also hearing from the locals in regards to storm response. I know Senator Warnock is here today. Senator Ossoff was in Valdosta on Saturday when we were there. Obviously, we've been in communications with Congressman Rick Allen, and Congressman Austin Scott was with us yesterday. Just know that we will work in a bipartisan way on disaster relief in this state with our federal, state, and local partners. We have submitted our expedited emergency declaration. This is something that's very rare, but this will help us, and I feel certain it'll be approved by the president and our federal partners.
Okay. I mean, we get the idea. They're getting all the help that they can from the federal government. The fact of the matter is that there's, we do not live in a society that is prepared to be able to deal with repeated once-in-a-century storms that seem to happen at least once or twice a year now. That's just the bottom line.
Do you remember when Chris Christie got all that crap because he embraced Obama after Obama provided relief for Hurricane Sandy? It's just interesting because I feel like Trump still is in that mindset. Like he's trying to, or I don't know. Like Kemp is actually being pragmatic to a certain degree. I just don't know if the appetite for like the partisanship as it relates to disasters is still there in this year.
I think it definitely is.
Okay.
I think it just happens that in Georgia, it's not the same dynamic as any other place. I mean, this is the one place where Trump, all he needed was 11,000 votes, and these stingy asses in Georgia wouldn't give it to him. Also, I would say that there's actually like, there's data that shows.
Look at your screen.
What?
Oh.
What's happening?
I put the QR code right over.
Oh, you did? Yeah. There's data that shows, I didn't see that. There's data that shows that actually it can help challengers when there is a natural disaster. And so for them, there's value. There's a reason why Trump is going there. And it's not because he wants to hand out paper towels. It's because he wants to nationalize the disaster, because it actually, there's data that shows that there is a marginal difference in voting patterns in the wake of something like that.
But that's what concerns me a little bit. I know that Biden's not going there because the governors are saying we have limited resources, but I don't like the idea of Harris not going to Georgia or North Carolina in the next few days.
It does seem as if Biden had said after that initial statement from Roy Cooper, the North Carolina governor, that he will do some sort of survey in the coming days of the
Biden?
Yeah.
Well, okay, I don't care about him anymore. I want Harris to go there and
I don't know
show
about
up.
Harris, but Biden said that just in response to the lie about how he had not spoken to some of these governors. He said he's going to do a survey of the damage at some point.
Yeah, they released a 30-second clip with 4 cuts in it where he's like trying to explain that, and it's like, Jesus, a cadaver.
But that's what we're going to be looking at tonight for the debate. So apparently CBS is going to, the debate starts at 9 p.m. CBS is the lead broadcaster, I guess. The QR code to fact check is only going to be available on the CBS feed. If you're watching the debate on any other channel, if you're watching the debate on any, and look, if you want to find out if what I'm saying is true, just use your phone on that QR code, and that will
Verify it.
right here. You can verify what I'm saying.
The future of broadcasting.
Where does that QR code take you?
That's join the majority report.
There you go. All right, beautiful. That's where you get truth. You miss half the debate while you're signing up.
We can't convey truth using this stupid audio-visual medium. You need to go to our print forum where we'll serve you some more ads on there.
Yeah.
This is the way that we're going to be dealing with fact-checking us in the future. We will have a QR code. That QR code will take you to a site where you will get an address. You put a self-addressed envelope into a full-size envelope, mail it to us.
Mm-hmm.
We will answer your question, send it back to you within a couple of days. That's the way that we're going to be doing fact-checking.
I like how fact-checking is like how you win the amazing race as well.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
We need to make it as difficult as possible.
Well, like Matt says, we can't convey facts.
It's a scavenger hunt for facts.
We can't do it this way. But that's going to be the debate tonight. They are not going to mute the microphones. And I honestly think like this could be a problem for Walls.
I do
because if you're Walls, you have to make a decision going in. Are we going to address all the lies? Or are we just going to try and present a, some type of like programmatic vision of what we're going to do, in the presidency? Speaking about, and now the other thing I think, like the other tact you could take is your first, your first answer is, it's a shame that we're not having moderators who are going to fact check. I understand there's a QR code, and maybe that's good for, all his tech brothers, who can fact check him. But the fact of the matter, he's going to be lying all night, and I'm not going to be able to, address each one because I won't be able to, tell a positive vision. So I'm going to mention that he's lying, and I'm going to encourage you to check the QR codes, but you'll miss part of the debate. And just, lay it out there and go, where I'm from, and then just get all folksy. I don't know.
Go on offense. Accuse him of Project 25. Accuse him of things beyond the reality so that he has to defend it would be my advice.
I like that better than complaining about the format probably is not the best look to introduce Walls to the country in the debate. Roll with it.
That's the thing. I don't know. I don't know how you deal with it. But
I don't know either, but we were concerned before the last debate and Harris destroyed him, but this is a little different because Vance is not going to take the bait in the same way Trump was so easily baited. And two, Vance is an extremist, but he's also a lawyer. And so he has experience arguing and filibustering too. He's slimier and could maybe wiggle out of things and not just take fall into traps like Trump did. And this is Walls is he's kind of more new to this. He hasn't been doing also the same national media that JD Vance has been in terms of defending his stances.
To be
and
fair,
all that stuff.
JD Vance does a Sunday show. They're that's as harsh as it gets. The rest of the answers, the questions he's answered, has been with literally a chorus of Trump fans behind him booing whenever he got a question he didn't want.
Yeah, he won't have the MAGA gang with him this time. So we'll see. I mean, the facts and reality are on our side, so that does benefit us to a degree and Walls to a degree.
So we will start our coverage probably around 9:15 p.m. Eastern tonight. And you can check that out on this channel. As far as I know, CBS is not going to bump us. Maybe if we have a massive QR code over the whole thing. I guess that we should be playing with QR codes. We should have 7 QR codes.
It's the future. I mean, look how great the broadcast is.
Well, that's one way of doing it, but I also think that if you had a QR code down here in the corner, one over here, one over here, one up here, over here, so 4 in each box, small QR codes. We have 8 QR codes on screen at all times, plus a scroll, a crawl that goes across too. It's so amazing. Sarcellus. Sam, do you feel vindicated from your debate with Destiny regarding Kyle Rittenhouse after the text revelation from his former spokesperson? We'll talk about that, actually. But I felt vindicated the moment that I showed up on Destiny's, because what I said, and I still believe this, despite the fact that the texts show that Kyle Rittenhouse had a different intent. Kyle Rittenhouse is not a murderer because a jury found him not to be one. And murderer is a legal term. He is undoubtedly, which I said before, a killer because he killed 2 people. Now, I found his intent prior to that to be extremely suspicious. Guy travels 20 miles away from his home to defend, a bodega with a weapon. That goes beyond, I think, like the calls for good citizenry that a 17-year-old goes. Now we find out that he had been the text messages. I don't know, if you can trust the individual who's, talking about this, but the text messages speak for themselves. I mean, he's talking about how he wants to kill some protesters. Then he just happens coincidentally to go do it. Like, in my mind, that guy there should have been at the very least, and I don't know why people didn't pursue this, but maybe there's not an opportunity, like civil charges of some form of negligence. Like, you go into an area with a weapon without proper training, and the desire, at least, one that you would articulate, to kill protesters, that it's highly likely, or a reasonable person should assume, that you're going to be put into a situation where you may end up killing people. That's the way that I would go about that. But no, I didn't. Does this, vindicate me? No, I was vindicated the moment I showed up there. I was vindicated beforehand. But I do remember from this, he felt that I was not thoughtful in my critique of Kyle Rittenhouse. And apparently, before I got on there, I found out that he had said that if Kyle Rittenhouse was black and had killed 2 people, white protesters, that I would have been so excited that I would have drank buckets of that guy's cum. Yeah, exactly. And I thought, like, that seems like a sort of unnuanced take too. It's ironic that you would use that in claiming that my take was unthoughtful and unnuanced. And then it seems like his fans, that really titillated them.
That's interesting.
That a guy would actually even articulate that and bring that up, because, it's buckets and buckets of cum. And I have an 11-year-old son, so I see how people react to stuff like this when they have that type of mindset.
Right.
And
he's got 11-year-old fans.
Yeah, you cannot say, like, you can't. There are certain words you just can't say around little kids like that. Like, like if I say, like, hey, like, we're going to the park, where's your balls? And he's like, ah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What did you say?
Balls.
And that's what the experience was going on to Destiny's program. And, look, I love kids. And particularly I love kids I don't have to live with, because you don't have as much responsibilities.
Right.
So it doesn't really bother me, but I do find it charming in a way. But yeah, no, Kyle Rittenhouse is a killer. And I also happen to think, although I wouldn't know about him if it wasn't for the fact that he had killed 2 people, he's also just a lousy person.
Totally.
So, anyways.
Yeah, and I think anybody who bought the idea that he was going there out of some sort of civic duty is either
give me an effing break.
Cynical white supremacist or dumb enough to get information unwittingly with white supremacists.
How many of us have not answered the call to support a bodega 20 miles away from us? Like, listen, if you think that Piggly Wiggly is under any type of danger of being, like a couple of cans of soup being taken, or if it's like there's an appliance store and there's a chance that like a dehumidifier is going to be taken by someone who's not paying for it. Which red-blooded American wouldn't grab their semi-automatic weapon, go 20 miles to protect that? I mean, come on. That's the American way.
Totally. Yeah.
That's what it means to be a mighty man of valor.
And that's what he was. But yeah.
Look at his life. It's all great now.
Yeah.
Nuance is
With
not
George Zimmerman.
picking apart like the broad themes of a story and the thrust of it and making it into these kind of like little nuances or like little details and picking that apart. I mean, the overall theme is exactly what you say. He had these texts. He essentially, now I guess we're finding that out now,
Yeah,
right?
we're finding out about the
that
text,
he expressed,
but I mean,
but the actions were clear in and of themselves at the time.
it was a clarifying moment for me because I wasn't familiar with Destiny, and I went on that show. I learned everything I needed to learn, like within the 15 minutes, first 15 minutes. So that was nice. Folks, it's your support that makes this show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. And when you do, we not only get the free show free of commercials, you get the fun half. So you can help this show survive and thrive, and you can IM us. Gowanus Canal enjoyer. No one in Wisconsin knows what a bodega is. It doesn't matter. It's a store. It's like a Piggly Wiggly, in New York City.
A convenience store.
Yeah, convenience store, like a Piggly
Without
Wiggly.
gas.
No gas. Stewart's, Piggly Wiggly, Cumby Farms, Cumberland Farms,
Wawa,
Cumbies. I don't know Wawa. Also, don't forget justcoffee.coop. Fair trade, coffee, hot chocolate. Use the coupon code majority, get 10% off. What did you want to?
Somebody said, defending Rittenhouse, that it was if they came into his house, and I would just read out the full quote for that person. It was Kyle Rittenhouse saying, "I wish they would come into my fucking house and I would kill them." So good. That's like a defense attorney that's like just got on the job like 30 minutes
Totally.
ago.
But the thing is, even if he wasn't wishing that they would confront him,
right?
Which
Even if he was worried about it.
I mean, what? And there's another way of articulating that. I wish to have a conflict with them. I wish to have a confrontation. And when they're not coming into your house, there's another way to have a confrontation. I'm going to put myself into a situation where there's a confrontation. I mean, honestly, how, well,
it's dense at a certain
arguing
point.
this stuff at one point, you just got to say, like, dude, I'm okay with this guy shooting these people.
Right.
And then the excuse of like, well, the guy shot, was a criminal. Well, Kyle Rittenhouse did not know this. It's not like he was going to shoot whoever he was going to shoot. Like, I'm going to put myself into a confrontation and do this. And for anybody, like, look, he's not going to jail. He's not having to pay any price. He actually had his moment of fame and couldn't capitalize on it, I guess, in the right-wing sphere.
And now he's selling coffee, right-wing coffee.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like an upgrade for him. His trajectory there. It didn't seem like he was going to be able to to join the tactical elite force that he seems to have really wanted to.
He said he wasn't rolling at Texas A&M, and Texas A&M's like, no, you're not. We don't got nothing on that.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, we just fundamentally have I have a different assessment of, say, if somebody was going to confront white nationalists versus Black Lives Matter protesters who were protesting police brutality. And there's a different analysis when you're looking at how the state represses one and upholds white supremacy on the other. And you can just look at history for a guide on that front.
And I'll grant the legal point, but I've never frankly understand the wider pedantry over the term murderer. Does Destiny fans, do they consider O.J. Simpson a murderer?
Right. I mean, I think no. I mean, that's the thing is that, but here's the thing. we don't know. People can suspect and this and that, but we don't definitively know. There's no, let me put it this way. There's no definitive proof that OJ killed those people. There is definitive proof that Kyle Rittenhouse killed those people. If you want to get pedantic about, are you a murderer if a jury has not found you to be a murderer, I'm okay with that. Legal pedantry. I'm number 2 in line for that. I don't know who's number 1, but I'm there. But he's a killer. There's just and then you can judge both in terms of moral and colloquially and sort of the way that were his actions justified? And no. You should not have been there. And you can't say that. Yeah, no, I can. I can say that. I can say that.
Yeah, pedantry is not nuance, but dumb people and teenagers might think that it is.
We should say, yes, buckets and buckets. OJ was convicted in civil court. Yeah, that is true, actually.
I mean, even if it wasn't, though.
Right.
And I don't know if you are considered a murderer if you're convicted in civil court as much as having done that. I don't know. But colloquially, I'm okay with you saying that. Let's put it that way. We'll have a QR code that will go into this more later. We should say Iran missile attacks have started. Yeah. It appears that they are hitting Tel Aviv. Although it's unclear. There have been explosions in Tel Aviv. It seems to be the reports. But, Israel also has technology that intercepts these things. So it's hard to fully assess. Biden says the U.S. is prepared to help Israel defend itself from Iranian attacks. It's
hard to assess right now what's happening. Yeah. If there have been any hits, I mean, I'd imagine that the Iron Dome is intercepting quite a few, but when you see the map of where the sirens went off, I mean, it's also in the illegal settlements too. There could be bombs dropping there, but they could also be trying to overwhelm Iron Dome at the current moment with a barrage and then hit them in a more targeted fashion in a few hours or something like that. So it's just a lot of wait and see.
I think what's happened is Israel's escalated with our help.
I mean, look, and people are saying there are reports of mass shootings in Tel Aviv. I don't know if that's the case or not. I haven't seen that on the news. But Cold Dog says, so this is the October surprise. I mean,
it's not a surprise.
Well, but the thing is, though, is that what a coincidence, right? I mean, let's be honest. What's going on here? Netanyahu is this is a twofer for him. It helps him, and he knows that it could help Trump.
Yeah,
this is the idea that this is happening a month from the election is not just whoa, what a coincidence.
Yeah.
I mean, this was
foreseeable.
Very
11 months
foreseeable.
Ago.
And I think Biden's lack of desire to discipline Netanyahu in any real way could harm Harris politically. So she should probably take the first shot and distance herself from him to some degree.
It already has, and I worry she's too late.
Drop Site News is reporting a shooting at a train stop in Jaffa, Israel, has resulted in multiple casualties. Initial reports indicate several people wounded, some in critical condition. According to the Israeli Broadcast Authority, 4 people have been killed in the attack. I mean, this is, the first, I don't know what it was, October 20th. We had Trita Parsi on last year, and the first thing that we were talking about is the chance of this leading to a wider regional conflict. And frankly, the players who have been most most involved in inhibiting this from becoming a wider conflict have been Iran and Hezbollah. I mean, it's just, that's just the reality. That is just simply the and it may be because it's in their best interest not to be attacked by Israel and by America. I don't know, but just as a completely objective assessment, you can take Bloomberg News, that radical extremist rag, and pull up the graphics, which shows, just like how restrained Hezbollah has been relative to Israel's attacks. I mean, they have all sorts of graphics that just simply show, the
differential.
The differential in I don't know if this one.
That's the fatalities. Where's the bar graph one that shows just the number of
keep going down
rockets?
Yeah, this is the number of rockets that now keep going.
Keep going. There
this
it is.
This is it. This is,
the purple is obviously Israel. Hezbollah is yellow, and this is since
Israel,
October 7th.
The purple seems much more extreme.
Yeah.
And let's be clear, when Hezbollah is firing into the desert as a way of just sort of indicating this is all part of the charade. But
we have to be doing something because our people don't like us standing around here doing nothing while you genocide Gaza.
Exactly.
And also, I mean, look at the difference in between airstrikes in between Hezbollah and Israel. I think that's also instructive. We could just put that back up. The dark yellow is Hezbollah airstrikes versus the dark purple, which is Israel's. This is just, we already know that Hamas doesn't have an air force. They don't have an airport. There's no symmetry in that relationship. But even with Hezbollah, which does give Israel fits and is the militant group that is the most poised to threaten Israel, they don't have the same weapons and capabilities whatsoever. So
are
the
those
entire thing is
airstrikes
asymmetrical.
must be drones?
Must
from
be.
Hezbollah?
I mean, the long range artillery is probably the broad. That's mostly what they're using, and the Iron Dome is more than capable of intercepting that kind of artillery. So that is part of it too.
All right. Well, let's head into the fun half. Hey, Emma, what's happening on ESPN?
Yeah, I mean, sports. We talked about. We actually talked a little about the cat trade yesterday, but mostly we covered Week 4 in the NFL. The Vikings being awesome, the Bears getting back on track. What the Bills getting trounced by the Ravens, etc. YouTube.com/ESPN show. Also, Jaden Daniels already my rookie of the year.
I don't know what that means.
It's okay.
Matt.
Left Reckoning tonight at 6:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 Central. David Griscom and I, check that out. Patreon.com/Left Reckoning. Gas to the fun app.
One more note, actually, for our free listeners. Put this up. This is a Department of Labor announcement that Department of Labor in New Orleans recovers $109,000 in back wages and damages from employers who denied full wages to 359 workers at 5 New Orleans restaurants. Why do I put this up? For those of you who have been reading the AM Quickie, and back even when you used to listen to it, although I think it was just when it was written, because I think we stopped doing the listening thing pre-COVID. You will recall that in addition to Corey Pine, who has been our sort of anchor, the anchor of the anchors at AM Quickie, after Jack Crosby was writing for it, we had a fellow named Bob Hitt who was writing the AM Quickie. Well, he is now in New Orleans, and he's been there for about a year working for the National Labor Relations Board. And this is the first case that he's been able to sort of like roll up. And there it is. So very, very proud of our AM Quickie alum.
Good job, Bob.
Yep.
Great job.
All right, folks. See you in the fun half.
You are in for it.
All right, folks. 646-257-3920. See you in the fun half.
Are you ready?
Who sent us this?
Alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you could imagine.
The alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just want to degrade the white man.
Alpha males are back.
I take all of it in my throat.
Alpha males are back.
Snowflake says what?
The alpha males are back.
You are a madman.
And the alpha males are back.
Oh no, Sam Seder! What a fucking nightmare!
Bring back DJ.
Yeah, or a couple of them. Just put them in rotation.
DJ Denner.
Well, the problem with those is they're like 45 seconds long, so I don't know if they're enough of a break.
That's fucking nonsense. You see white people doing drugs, they look worse than normal white people, and all white people look disgusting.
And the alpha males,
psych, fuck them. Snowflake says what? Snowflake says what?
A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. Okay, I'm making stupid money. Hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank.
All lives matter.
Have you tried doing an impression on a college campus?
I think that there's no reason why reasonable people across the divide can't all agree with this. Psych.
and the alpha males are back. And the Africans are black African, and the alpha males are black. And the Africans are back.
When you see Donald Trump out there, doesn't a little part of you think that America deserves to be taken over by jihadists? Keeping it 100.
Can't knock the hustle.
Come on, fuck them. Things I do for the bigger game plan. By the way, it's my birthday. Happy birthday to me, Jew boy. I have a thought experiment for you.
And the alpha males are back. Africans are black. Alpha males are black. Africans are back.
Come on. Come on. Someone needs to pay the price for blasphemy around here.
I am a total pussy.
We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland, Majority Report. Fun / sometimes second half.
World War III
We may have to
half.
roll back the fun half branding.
I mean, we'll see, but this does not. Iran felt it needed to, I guess, respond pretty forcefully. This is stronger than I think we anticipated, maybe.
Yep. Drew from Illinois, do you guys think the Mossad has dirt on our leaders here in the U.S. so they can basically do whatever they want? What kind of dirt are they going to have on Joe Biden at this point in his life that it's going to really sort of fundamentally like, okay, I am, whatever it is I did, if you're Joe Biden at this age, like, you might as well go bungee jumping. Like, what difference does it make?
The conquest of America was done enthusiastically and willingly. It wasn't done through like blackmailing people to, expel the Native Americans and stuff like that. The sad thing is there's a large amount of people, particularly in the ruling class throughout history, that are willing to do things like this and see it as a project they want to complete before they retire from service.
And Matt Duss was being interviewed by by Mehdi Hassan Zateo, and he was talking about how, like, in the think tank space and all the people in the foreign policy DC space, like, it really weeds out folks if you are critical of Israel in any way. So there's a lot of careerism too, and people that are just trying to get ahead, and they're not. They just go along with it. I would guess, but
I also think that it's just like we just choose the people who feel this way.
Yeah.
And so, it's like a natural selection of some sort. Snarkorsky says it's the existential dread half.